hear you.
Okay, well, yeah, it's just, I put it in the middle of the room, so just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
All right, we ready? Okay, good morning, everybody. Time to call our Parks and Tree Committee meeting to order and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's nice. Okay, Diane, do you want to do the roll call?
Yes. Josh Bechtel. Josh Marvin.
Present.
Josh Bechtel is absent. Matthew Bechtel. Sorry. And then Lena Tucker.
Present.
Nancy Patton.
Here.
And then Wally Shreves and Bob Dalton are absent. And Deborah Sue Northern. Present.
Great. And do we have any time reports that we need caught up on? Angela, how are we doing?
We haven't had any activities and we're fine. I already submitted the Tree City USA. So just, we don't have anything else unless somebody is going out and doing work. Just send Diane an email and actually copy me on it because we haven't really gone over how to track that yet. So just copy us both.
Okay. And our meeting minutes. Everybody have a chance to take a look at November. If you remember, November was the presentation for the Master Parks Plan by the contractors working on that. So that was our November meeting. So there's a brief summary in our meeting packet. Any questions or clarifications on minutes? We're good. Looks like we need a motion to approve our meeting minutes for November.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
In a second.
I second it.
All approved? Aye.
Hey,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, we're good. Our minutes are approved. Okay, public comment. It looks like we have nobody in the room for public comment. And beautification committee update. She's not here. I haven't heard from Bob, so nothing. They're kind of closed down for the season.
Yeah, we've, if you had noticed, we did more planting in the medians, and I don't know if we talked about that in the last meeting, so that was done. We've now kind of had plants throughout the whole median that kind of gives it a little bit more pop.
Yeah.
I think next year we probably want to put a little bit more in there. I would like to move to, and we've kind of had this discussion, eventually get to a point where we have foliage and plants that look good in our medians that would just be on a short term where we can go in and put mulch. We can do a little bit of preening or pulling with public works staff. We can get the weeds done.
Mm-hmm.
Less labor intensive, and the main point here is that we keep it's difficult, it's tight with our medians, and if you've ever been seeing people work when we do those lane closures, we usually have people that sometimes get confused and drive into the medians, and it's just not a safe environment. And if you notice how the beautification committee works, they they're on their knees, they're moving along, they're not paying attention. Some of the things that we've done in public works to try to help with that is keep vehicles in front of them, but they get spread out, and so it becomes cumbersome. And so we've been doing our best to try to keep people safe. But as you've seen in the paper, we've had a few vehicles up on our medians lately, right? And so I think we just need to be cognitive of that and be aware that it is risky. There is potential for that to occur. And we've been moving for having something that looks better, but also easy to maintain, and it keeps people safe. And so that's kind of really the only update I have for right now.
But there's no plan to not use the beautification committee anymore.
As far as I know, they're still doing the things. They're still working in the medians as of right now. I know that they do other areas along 228, Husky Hill. We have other areas along the highway that they take care of. Also things around the signs, entrance signs. We also have been doing stuff at Sankey Park. And I think those are the types of things where we want to get them involved with our entrances and our sites that aren't in streets, in working with, some businesses, maybe like flower pots and things along as we start doing more benches and things like that. Not saying that we still can't use beautification in the medians as of right now, but I think the point I'm making is that we're leaning towards trying to make a more safer, conscious decision about how we're working with our medians. So, does that answer your question?
Yes.
So yes, they're still doing all kinds of stuff. So.
And Patty's in California right now. She wasn't here.
Well, the bark dust that was added a while back looks great. Really makes it all pop. Everything looks good. They got plenty of rain, so.
We'll see what happens in the spring when everything wakes up.
Yep.
So that's going to be another discussion when it wakes up. So
Yeah.
More to come. And I'm sure we'll be using beautification to help with that because there's just bulbs throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we're ever going to get away from not having the flowers in their median. So you know how it is here where they plant those, they're hard to rid of them. So, and I'm not sure we want to, but we'll see what that looks like when it comes to spring after we planted.
Okay, moving on to Old Business City Hall Park. Any new news?
If you got a chance to look, we've talked about Dallenberg Bridge being moved, and that'll happen when the weather gets nicer. We're talking about potentially putting that out front, but I think we're working internally on what that final design is going to look like. If you also haven't noticed, we put this week, Dominic and a fence contractor actually put the posts in. And so we actually have the property all aligned around like when we did the property swap, and eventually we'll have the walkway that goes over to the next residential homes over on this side. Once those poles cure, we already have the fencing. They'll be back probably next week or as holidays allow. They'll be stretching that fence when I believe it has slots in it. Is that correct? And it's already out back. So all the materials are here. And so that much closer to actually having a very nice fence that's going to kind of incorporate what that park will look like. But I think once we finish the design, find funding, Dallenberg Bridge is something we're working on to get moved. And that would be kind of something that's worked with the community and Public Works. But I think we'll need to, when we have the priorities discussion, talk about that moving forward. And again, we're still working on that design, kind of fine tuning it because it had the bridge inside the park. And I think we want to put that bridge out front. So it's a focal point. We don't want to hide it. We want people to see it as they're going by. And so those are some of the details we're working through internally.
Is it chain link? Is that to match?
It'll be black chain link with black slats.
Black chain, okay.
Yeah. It'll look really nice. It's the same thing what we did without the slats at Northside.
Okay. Nice.
So it'll look really nice.
Black chain link, okay.
And that's kind of all I have for that at this point.
For that one, okay.
Yeah.
So we should kind of keep
And I don't know if
following-
there's funding we talked about donors and stuff in the past, that there
Yeah.
was some funding for that, and that's kind of being worked through as well.
Any other questions on that?
So the funding is some individual one to give money for it before. Is that the same one?
Yeah, there's maybe one or two community. Yeah, I don't know who it is. I don't know much about it, but there's been some community members that want to, or at least at one point wanted to fund a playground and some of the things in that park. But I don't think we're to a point where we really know that's secure yet. And I think it probably would have more of a discussion when we get into priorities and budget with the parks, because we've got Sankey Park to think about as well.
Mhm.
So.
Okay, moving on to new business. Arbor Day. So I added this to the agenda, I guess, last month to be discussed. We just need to kind of start thinking what our big grand Arbor Day event will be for 2024, sometime in April, obviously. Last year we focused on North Side with the development of the dog park, big event, lots of people kind of trying to promote that park. We have other, obviously we have mini parks. We have the parks that are, we're really still focused on, like the work in Sankey. So Sankey could be an event upon itself to really talk about the fundraising and the new development. And we can always pop a tree out in Sankey somewhere. It's pretty easy. We could do something here at City Hall and kind of kick off landscaping here, focus on what the new City Hall park would be looking like. So it's really, I'm sure you all have ideas. So rather than making a decision right now when we don't have many people here, let's just kind of keep brainstorming and thinking of what type of community event we want it to look like in 2024 and where we want to focus and what our messages are.
To add, and with that for City Hall, we probably need to have a discussion outside of this a little bit regarding the tree in front. And I know, Kelsey, and we've all internally been talking about that. So let's go out and look at that after the meeting, because I think it's that area. It had an area that was that way. When winter hit, you can actually see it start thinning out all the way up top. So I want you to take a look at that. And so the talk is, it seems like it's progressing, the tree.
Yeah, I kind of held
And
on.
I don't have anything against this tree.
No,
I really don't.
No.
I would love to see it be our Christmas tree and
Yeah.
everything. And so if that becomes a discussion, then maybe at Arbor Day, we can talk about replacement or something. And our city manager will have to make that decision, because I know she loves that tree.
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to preserve, if we can try to save it, we would love to, but I would just think we needed to have one more look at it again and maybe have that discussion.
I brought that up at the last meeting. Oh no, it's a good tree.
Well, and it
got
held on.
full.
It held on this summer.
It got really full in the areas and it got really green, but as soon as winter hit and we had the frost, the heavy freeze,
Yeah.
you could
Started shedding.
You could see it get thin and more up above. And so take a peek at it when the
Okay.
meeting's over.
I'll take a close look.
And compare it to the one by the bus stop, because they're identical trees.
I know.
And they're day and night.
Yeah.
So
What do you all think? Arbor Day events. You're the events lady. What's something that really, would engage the community? We can get them together. What?
I think one thing that the city was pushing, or not pushing, but advertising this last summer was the new campground. That park. A lot of wide open space down there for trees. I know if I'm camping, I like shade to put a hammock in or something like that. So
Okay.
Just a note about that, though, we did get the wetland delineation done, but I think that's going to take a little bit more of a discussion to just see how we flush out the plans of what's actually planned down there, because there is a lot of trees and brush, and adding a tree that may have to get removed later, we might want to just consciously think about that.
Ever said,
Deborah.
hi. What kind?
What?
Say it again.
So what type of are we getting a tree or do you have a tree? Okay. Okay.
Incense cedar.
Yeah, so that would work in Sankey. It would work on kind of more of a drier site. Yep. Incense cedar.
There you go.
Oh, that works.
That's good.
Nancy, any ideas?
No, I'm listening. Believe that?
Oh, I know you are. I know your brain is
It's working.
working here, thinking of fun activities. I mean, it was such a fun event last year because we had so much of the community turn out. You know, the dogs were kind of
Yeah.
a fun focus. So we'll just have to think of what we can do to engage the community.
Well, I kind of like the idea of being here at City Hall. If you guys get your final design finished and that way. Because you're still going to add a dog park here also? I mean, originally that's.
Well,
what
we're
some-
still fleshing out what the
Okay.
design, because so many things have changed and
Okay.
there's a lot that has changed on what we were going to do. So that's an idea still. But as Greg said, the people that were originally going to fund some of this stuff, we haven't heard from them. We're trying to check in with them. Designs have changed a little bit. We're not putting the bridge back in here. We're putting it up there. So I think we need to flesh out the design before we figure it out of what we're going to do. It's still an option. There's still a lot of room over there. But I think we have to finalize. The staff needs to, and part of that too is it's going to be fleshed out with this master parks plan. And so that's going to help determine what the priorities are besides just what staff is going to design.
And you are correct that the original thought was the donors were going to put a playground in and a dog park. And then we actually did the dog park at Northside because they were talking about two different dog parks. But that was the original discussion. So it really comes down back to the donors and then what do we want in that park? And so funding's the, you know, what were they wanting to see with their funds and how can we accommodate those so we can use the funds? And so I think all that still has to be worked out. And I think originally COVID kind of played in, supply chain issues. The donor was going to just try to get the playground set, and when they kind of kicked back in during that, the playground set increased dramatically in cost, and so there was some thought of, well, should we do it? Should we not? And could they do it? And so that's what we need to do, is still vet that out, get the plan right. And then we could bring that to you and say, this is kind of what it's going to look like. And we can kind of move a little more quicker, but still a little high up. We haven't landed on exactly what it's going to be, especially since moving that bridge. You know, splash pad could go over there because that's something that people want. I mean, all that stuff has to be vetted out and then put in a plan. And then we have to figure out funding for it. And if donors are on part with that, then that makes it a little bit easier.
So, and just to clarify also, so we had two separate donors for dog parks. One was a donor for here, and then one was an additional donor that just wanted a dog park somewhere. So we split them up, which is why we have the dog park at Northside. That person partially sponsored that one. So the person that was going to sponsor the one over here is a totally different donor. So, which is why we ended up talking about two. But it also worked because we ended up with an amenity on the north side of the highway and a park with amenities, and then having one on the south side of the highway, kind of more central to Sweet Home. So that was kind of the thoughts around the two locations. One of the locations was chosen by the person that wants to donate it. The other one, we asked that person if we could do it down at Northside, and they were happy with that. So, so just to clarify, we actually had two different donors that wanted dog parks. So.
So when do we actually have to make a decision for Arbor Day?
I'd say by our February meeting, we should have it kind of tied down so we can, you know, kind of do the planning and pick the date, do the advertisement, kind of that whole thing. So let's keep this on the agenda for January. You know, think through some of these ideas. We'll get our other members back in January. We can kind of start honing in on what would be a good event. Because really April, Arbor Day, Earth Day, all that kind of kicks it off for Sweet Home in terms of events, because then we get into May and June and summer and all the other events. So, because I don't really think we have any big events before April for the town. When I think of all the fun runs and all, you know, some of those things.
No.
Yeah.
Just That's what I'm in charge of, so
Yeah,
no.
I was gonna ask.
Okay, I'm looking, that's why I'm looking at you. I'm trying to
No.
think of the
As of right
calendar.
now, no.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot happening in December, January, February, March, kind of quiet. Yeah,
Yeah, which is nice.
which, it's winter.
I did receive an email from the Arbor Day Foundation about the grant, but if I remember right, I just got it yesterday. We can only apply for it like every other year, so I don't think we'll be able to
Yeah.
get funds for trees this year
Yeah.
because we did last year. So
Yeah.
we'll have to look at the budget if we're going to purchase
Yeah.
trees because we were able to use it for last year, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure we can't do it.
Yeah.
Consecutive years. so.
You're right on that. It's like in every other year. And so, maybe it's a singular tree and it's, it's an event, but, it's a singular one or two trees that have meaning for whatever we choose to do. So, because we did a lot of trees last year.
Yeah, and just to give you another food for thought, and the city hall of that tree was just a food for thought. We also have 2 new little pocket parks that you guys named
That's
that was
right.
approved through council last meeting. Walkabout Park has 2.
Oh, not yet. It hasn't.
The applications were approved to sign, but it actually goes in front of council the end of January to actually approve
Okay,
the
but it
names.
went in front of them last meeting.
Just to approve the applications,
Okay,
yes.
so I misspoke, but it went in front of council.
Yeah.
There was a discussion on it. But with that and naming of those parks, the 2 little trees that are in it are in bad shape and probably, I think you've looked at those, they're growing from the base. They're not doing well up top and they're starting to grow new, both of those little trees. You know what you're talking?
Oh, Walkabout Park. Yeah. And I saw the guys were taking down the plum that had died. So there's one plum.
Both of them were sprouting from the base
Yeah,
though.
and they just need pruned. They're just
Probably.
suckers.
But that's an opportunity as well to maybe showcase one
To
of
do
those, put a
something.
tree in there, maybe a bench or something.
Yep.
I just, so that's another somewhere where that we
Yep.
could do that. But again, we want to do what's best for
Yep.
what you guys want to do as well. So
Something to, and that one, that would be like kind of calling all dog walkers and all walkers. There's so many, there's so many people that walk through there, and have a little kind of a more intimate. So yeah, there's kind of the small thing, kind of like Evergreen where we did it for the community. And then there's something we could do bigger for here at City Hall or Sankey or something like that. So we have lots of options.
Yep.
Definitely.
and if I remember correctly, I don't think there's water in that park.
I don't
We'd have
think
to-
there is.
We would have to put water probably in there. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that's just another area that I know some trees that got removed. We could,
Yep.
you could
Mhm.
put something in there. So
Ashbrook is another one. Ashbrook has room for a few more trees, although, that's really not been on our agenda to spend a whole lot of time with, probably down the road. It'd be interesting to see kind of when our master parks plan is done, kind of where priorities shake out.
That's the only place with a basketball court. I know you've always talked about basketball courts before.
they have half court there, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
Tyson and Ashley use it.
There's a half court at Northside too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
there is that. Yeah.
It's a little further for us, but
Okay, so January, we'll kind of pick up the discussion and keep thinking about it as you drive around town. Okay, Sankey Park Phase 3 donations, something that we can't forget we're still working through. So anything new on that front?
I haven't received any new donations, so probably when everybody gets back, we need to kind of talk about a strategy. Or I will need to contact them and just kind of see if we can alter our grant in some sort of way. So, but we can do that in January when everybody's back and have a more lengthy discussion about it. So,
Okay,
I agree. I just wanted to throw out there after our meeting, Kelsey just approached us and, because I'm always thinking, let's have a spaghetti feed or something. And she says, if you guys want to do that, you can do it. So, I just think, again, personally, I think that if you bring the community together, feed them, and have auction type of stuff. I mean, it's doable. You see what the community does with the trees and all kinds of stuff. But I mean, it'd be work, but I think it would be good to introduce more things to the community that way. A fundraiser. There's enough of us to pull off a fundraiser, right?
Yes.
I go, what, Nancy?
Well, and the other thing is our solicitation for donations earlier in the calendar year, since we kind of started a bit.
Well, like Angela
late.
said, though, she told us about it a long time ago. So parts of it is our fault. But we're trying to make up for it. I just, you know, it's so late in the year. And I don't know, because I don't work for a big corporation, never have. But I just know that my funding that I get for the kids store, you know, they're usually, you know, they're not huge, except I got a big one yesterday from Clayton Homes. But, you know, $600, $700. But most people want you to ask them in the beginning of the year. Because I know Bob's really tried with Cascade, you know, Timber and the hospital and all those places. So, I don't know. But it's going to be, if we start at the beginning of the year and have a fundraiser and get those people in there right away, maybe we could do something. Just, I thought. Angela's an event person now too. She could probably give us some ideas, maybe.
Okay,
Okay.
keep working on it.
Yeah.
Get
Keep
everybody
thinking.
else back in January. Sweet Home Parks Master Plan Survey. So I've been seeing, I guess it's on Facebook, the Facebook page, you know, here's the link, take the survey, have a say in your part. So how is that going in terms of outreach and getting input?
So we just got an email this week. They're still, they sent us some new links to put out. I don't have the actual numbers. I know she's putting some of them together. One of our contractors, she had been out sick, and so she's kind of gathering all that stuff. I know she said, I think if I have the number right, there was like 23 people that came off of Facebook. I wouldn't quote me on that though. I'd have to go back and read her email. So still trying to figure out outreach on that. The biggest outreach was Harvest Festival so
Yeah,
far,
yeah.
and so which was
Yeah.
good. So still trying to promote the survey online.
Okay.
Hopefully in January we'll have a little bit more information. She said some charts and some different maps that they're putting together. So we will hopefully have more of that in January for you. Questions?
What?
Nothing? Okay. Parks budget priority. Usually, is that usually January that we kind of spend some time on budget?
So
Or how do you want us to prepare?
you're off. You were on.
Technically, our code says we're supposed to discuss it in December. However, yeah, so we've been talking about trying to update our code for a while, because that's what it says in the charter, is that you're supposed to discuss it in December. However, there's never anything put together to discuss it in December. So, you know, and Greg can talk more about it, is, you know, just start thinking about priorities. Now, granted, this year it's going to revolve around a lot of the master parks plan and what that, but, you know, there still can be a discussion about what you all see as the priorities too, and how we work that in. So, and that's.
Yeah, I think right off the top, we're on the hook for a grant,
Yeah.
you know, and so
Yeah.
that we don't want to lose that money. So I
Yeah.
think our priority focus should be trying to get that done, because that's a big bang for our buck.
Yeah.
But also setting those priorities, and again, completing the survey and the plan gives this panel or this committee a direction to go to when we start looking at parks. The other side of that is, I know there's some movement to get the city park going here from our city manager. That's going to be like her project. And if you look, we have council goals, we have staff goals, we also have city manager goals. And so we've talked a lot about the city hall park. But again, that funding still has to be clarified. We don't know exactly what the cost, if we make changes to the plan, what the estimate's going to be, and then what's the funding for it? What does that look like? Is it from donors? Is it from city? Or is it a combination of both? But we've got this large chunk of money with States Park, and I think that would probably be something to try to hit the donations and get the walkways, because it just does a lot. But that'll be, your guys' decision when we bring that back to set our priorities.
Mhm.
Once we know the priorities, I will probably be a little bit closer to understanding what those donations and what the general fund looks like that we can support.
Mhm.
And then maybe we can clarify and kind of hone down on what's going to make sense for us.
Mhm.
But obviously, we're on a timestamp with the state.
I do agree with Sankey because, we've secured a good portion of funding. We need to finish getting the match, and then we can kind of hold true on our plans for Sankey and kind of our discussions with the community on finishing that up. So I really just think that has to stay up there at the top.
I agree. So Angela, you said you're going to ask them about the funding or the grant. Can you explain it? What you
Not unless I have to.
Oh,
Yeah.
So if we can't raise the match, then I will have to give them a call and see if there's a way that we can add, or remove some of it and just have funding for a part of it and not all of it. So that is last resort. That is not something I want to do because I would hate to have to lose the whole
Right.
thing depending on what they say. So just making you aware that may be something that we have to do
So-
if we can't raise the match funds.
what's
So
the exact match fund again?
I don't have it
Oh.
at the top of my head. I'd have to
Okay.
go look it up. I think we have like $60,000 that we still have to raise.
I want to say it was just a little higher than 60,000, somewhere in there. So
60,
that's what I remember.
That we have left to raise.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would be the city portion as they look at it, our portion to fund that
Yeah.
part of the grant. And that can come from city, can also come from donors. and-
Mhm.
and a
Well,
combination.
so Greg, actually the match was like 100 and some thousand,
Oh,
but
and that, okay.
so the portion that has already been raised is city staff, time and materials. So what our guys will put into it, what we put into it. So that part we've already counted
Yeah.
that part as the partial. So what we have left is what we need to get from the community because we're not going to have much more in our budget to be able to contribute to it. So the city's portion has already been contributed as in kind, well, the estimated. So the 60,000 is what's left that we need to bring in. So it's like, I can't remember, it's like 177,000 or I can't, one of them is right around that area. So
So what's your opinion, your professional opinion, why if we're having a hard time? Okay, we just,
I would say community priority. I don't know if it was flushed out enough to get community support. I don't know if this is what the community wanted to support because it doesn't seem like it so far, but I can't really tell you. So it's just,
I think part of
yeah, it's weird because everybody
everybody's belts
tried.
tightened right now with cost of gas and food and all that sort of stuff. And so that has a reciprocal effect all the way up and down the line. So
But yeah, you can see when they come together and raise money for the scholarships for trees, and there's a lot of money that's earned for a lot of projects.
Hmm.
I don't know.
but people account for that. That's something that happens every year. And when you're already pinching, it just, there's a bunch of things that go into play and we just need to do a little better job of putting it out there. And as you mentioned, it's coming into the new year where
Right.
big corporations will have their new budget to donate and do that sort of stuff. So this is a perfect time for us to
I agree.
raise those funds.
one part of the goal of the Master Parks Plan is to also flesh out what the community does see as a priority. And the Parks Plan that was in place before did not, from what I know, did not reach out to the community as much as it should have, from what I was told, which is why there was some holes in what the community saw as a priority. And so one of the biggest goals of this one and why the outreach, they're pushing so hard for the outreach is to actually see what the community looks at as a priority, not just staff, not just the committee.
Yeah.
Because if the community is not going to see some of these tasks as a priority, you're not going to get their backing. You're not going to get their funds for it. And so hopefully this Master Parks Plan will kind of identify those things that the community thinks is, and those are the things that we can focus on in the future. trying to get funding for. So, you know, between economy and just priority basis, you know, we'll see how this all fleshes out. So this one just happens to fall in an inopportune time. So hopefully we will find support for it, or hopefully they will allow us to alter our grant. So we'll see how it goes.
So I assume in January we'll start diving into budget a little bit more. I don't know when you all prep the fiscal budget.
Yeah, and so I don't know when that's going to occur yet. Usually it's February. I think last year was February into March when we did it. So, but I think, again, focus back on the priorities.
Okay.
And I think really hone down on what this committee wants to see in January. And then that way, as the budget starts flushing out, at least we kind of have an idea.
Okay. Okay. That is the end of our new business items. Anything else that we need to talk about in front of this group?
So Angela, we got an email from you. So you want us, can you redo,
Oh,
want us to go to next council meeting again? I think that's what.
We don't need if more than 3 of you go, then we will have to notice it.
Okay.
Blair we had just talked about it, that it would be if they ask questions of how the names came about, whatnot. Well, none of staff was involved in those meetings. And so it would be handy to have 1 or 2 of you there just in case. 9 times out of 10, the council doesn't have questions, but it would, if in case they do, it would be nice to have somebody there. You know, Blair can, you know, give a general, but if there is reasons behind the names or specific things that you guys came up with, it would be nice to have somebody there just to help.
We just sat around and.
brainstormed.
Yeah.
Because he walks all the time
Yeah.
with his dog, and
Yeah.
I thought, well, there's a route, you know, and
Yeah, whether they answer, whether they even ask or not, I don't know, but just, it was just one of those things that if 1 or 2 of you could be there, it would be helpful to Blair. Just, we don't go, and it's all on Blair, you know,
I
we
can
prepare the
understand.
documents.
they probably go, well, how'd you come up with walkabout? You know, it's like,
What date is that?
So the 23rd is a Tuesday. We have our next Park and Tree meeting on the 17th, so we'll have a chance to get together before then and decide who shows up.
is that when it's going to be?
It's
Okay.
23rd at 6:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
And our meeting here is on the 17th.
Okay. Good.
So that gives us time to say, okay, definitely here's who will go. If it's Wally or you or
I
me.
took
Or,
notes, so I have to
Yeah.
look back and see.
no, that'll be good.
Yeah, again, you may not have to do absolutely anything, but
Okay.
you
Well, I
never know.
think it's nice too to just
It's nice
show
to
your presence,
yeah.
because they might not know who everybody is either.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, they might not care, but still.
No, I think it is good if there's items that go before the board that affect the parks. That some of us should show up. I agree.
We should
I'm
just
off
show up for
work, I
council
can be
meetings
there.
anyway.
If you're off work, okay.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have you describe why you. But you know, ever since we've done that, I just pay attention when I drive by.
Yes.
It's just, you know, my morning routine is head to the pool to swim laps, and I see the same group of people walking their dogs in that general area. So it's like, all right, there's a loop here that people are.
We talked about having the kiosk though, showing the route.
Yep. Another idea. All righty. Anything else we need to be aware of?
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Yeah,
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Everybody
Merry
enjoy.
Christmas. See you next time.
Thanks,
See you
Deb.
next month.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, then we are adjourned.
That was easy.
Merry Christmas.